We've seen players all the time. It's a new chapter. I want to look forward. I don't want to talk about what's happened in the past. Christina set him up, and it was clearly something he wanted to get off his chest.
Absolutely. And we have talked about this on the show for a long time. And as Robert Lewandowski, that you know I rate very highly, and this is a new chapter in his life, going to Barcelona. But I think that in this book called Robert Lewandowski being a great success at Bayern, we have to go back in the book a bit to a couple of chapters back. This is the guy who scored 41 goals, beating Gerd Müller's record. This is the guy who went to Bayern Munich and said he wants to extend his contract. This is a guy who saw maybe this time to end his career at Bayern Munich, but at the same time, Bayern Munich didn't even answer him. They didn't even answer his agent, and at the same time, they're starting flirting with a younger player, which is in every book some part of the plot. So I guess we can all talk about chapters, and Robert Lewandowski can say now that this doesn't annoy him. But as you rightly say, Dan, I mean, there is a way of you don't care so much, you care a lot. I mean, I made that expression on myself now, I guess, but you understand what I'm saying. It looks like Robert Lewandowski want to get this off his chest, as you said, and of course we knew about this. We talked about this week in and week out, that imagine being this guy, being the superstar at Bayern Munich. At the same time, I think that it's right of him to say what he's saying, because Robert Lewandowski should never say that, yes, because of a 21-year-old guy from Norway, I wanted to move. He was rightly maybe the biggest star of the German Bundesliga. He has rightly now joined one of the biggest clubs in Europe, coming from one of the biggest as well in Bayern. So he will see forward, but still he had some dig at the back, and you were beeping for fun there. It was like a cartoon, I guess.
You kind of feel good for him.
Yeah. Listen, I really believe that this was a situation where no one was really in the wrong. You understand Bayern Munich and their interest in Erling Haaland, but if you're Robert Lewandowski, and let's look at it from his perspective purely here, you have to be upset with the way it kind of came together, and your own feeling that that your contributions to the club have all of a sudden meant very little at that point. So you understand why he feels as strongly as he does. And I think he's absolutely right to feel that way. And now he's moved on, given his relationship with the club and those fans, given everything that he's won, given the records that he's broken, to see that separation between himself and Bayern Munich be as acrimonious as it was in the last few weeks, you understand now why he also wants to lash out at the club, but also have his side be told firsthand to the Bayern fans. So, I don't give him wrong either.
It's kind of amazing to me that the hierarchy at Bayern Munich are so arrogant. And it's not like this is something new. They've been like this for years. That they almost give this outlook as it's about them. They're more important than the team or anybody else. And to have a guy who's scoring 40 goals a season, breaks Gerd Müller's record, a guy that you played with as well, and to completely ignore him whilst you're trying to bring somebody else in, it just smacks of real arrogance and thinking that, you know what, these guys should just be pleased that they're here.
Right.
They should be. Robert Lewandowski should be pleased that we're looking after him. Robert Lewandowski should be pleased that he's a Bayern player. So we get away. I mean, it's just incredible that the most important player you have, you treat with such disdain. It's amazing.
Is that fair, Jan?
Well, it's fair to say, but as Steve is saying, this is also part. I mean, you can call it arrogance. I won't call it arrogance. This is just the way the Bayern culture has always been built. There is a history of that they have lost player in this way. Yes, you can call it arrogance, but at the end, Dan, now I think that was time for Robert Lewandowski to make this interview. He just felt that he wanted to say that. But Bayern also, that is also the strength of Bayern. They have moved on. They have Sadio Mane, they have De Ligt, they got Mathys Tel. So they have had a quite good transfer window. And I also think that Robert Lewandowski yes, he is a football superstar, but he's also a human being. And as Stevie is rightly so, you just feel you get treated this way. You got to get that off. But I don't think, quite honestly, Bayern care, because they moved on. And I think in a hard way, Stevie, I don't think if you agree, but you know that from Liverpool, the king is dead. Long live the king.
Luis, what's interesting is that he's kind of played this really well if you look at both fan bases, in the sense, like you're saying, like, I never wanted to leave Bayern Munich, but now obviously I'm at Barcelona and I don't feel that's a second choice for me.
No, of course. And I think he's been very professional, trying to keep it quiet. He never say anything to get or Bayern Munich hungry, of the board, or the supporters, and either the other side that he could be the next supporter for him, Barcelona supporters. So at the end, I think he done what he has to do, has to wait for Barcelona to make the approach. I think he felt hurt at that moment because Bayern probably wasn't giving him what we thought that he deserved sometimes. And I think I agree. I'm not calling arrogance, but it's true that sometimes football players, when they get in board position, they forget what it is to be a footballer, and they've been there, and they complain about the board when they were treated the same way. I don't understand why they don't realize, or they kind of get closer to the feeling of where they felt when they were football players. Where is the feeling of Lewandowski in those moments? You arrive into an age that you are not anymore the younger, but you're still the biggest star. And I think they're going to regret in the future, because when you pull out 50 goals from your side, it's very difficult to bring so many players who can add those kind of 50 goals. So I think he's done a great job. I think he, at the right moment, just open up and say, listen, I'm hurt. That's the way that I feel now. I'm going to move on. Bayern's going to move on. But I have to say, because I have to feel well with myself and with the supporters of Bayern Munich, that they need to know from my side what just happened.
And what do the supporters make of all of this, Jan, of Bayern?
I think they do move on. I think that Robert Lewandowski could say that the fans who talked to him, they supported him. Why shouldn't they? He'd been a fantastic servant to them, winning everything, scoring goals for fun. But you know, fans are like, they also move on, and they now have new heroes. I mean, that is a brutal part of our sport. Now is Sadio Mane the biggest thing that ever happened to them. De Ligt, seemed like everybody had forgotten that he wasn't that great success at Juventus, and so on and so on. So I think that the supporters now move on, and hopefully down the road, hopefully Robert will do fantastic with Barcelona, and someday he will come back and he will be among the players that will be celebrated at Bayern. I think that, quite honestly, I think that it's good for Robert Lewandowski that they got Sadio Mane. Now they have a replacement somehow, another star in for him, and now he can move on with his career.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.